You see all these amazing steroid transformation stories on TikTok. Folks only post their best stories almost as a rule. So to people who didn't have an amazing steroid transformation story, I got two things for you. One, they're probably not going to post. And two, even if they posted, you wouldn't notice it because it would never go viral because it doesn't look impressive. So when you think, yeah, but that one 17-year-old on trend, he got shredded in like 2 weeks or whatever. Yeah, there's only one of that guy. And there's 100 other guys that tried that and they just like had terrible acne and got night sweats and shivering and weakness and all. So it's real fun. Nobody's posting about that. Hey folks, Dr. Mike here for RP Strength, and today my drug-using ass is going to try to convince you not to use steroids. Like I did. Isn't that hypocrisy, you may be asking yourself? Yeah, maybe. But I can think of a few reasons why it's not hypocrisy based on how I'm going to present to you the hopefully somewhat convincing argument that maybe you should reconsider steroid use if you're thinking about it. First, I won't be telling you not to do drugs. I don't look like McGruff the crime dog, though in a certain light, maybe a little bit. I'll be helping you try to understand why in the vast majority of cases, drugs are vastly overrated. So you'll likely make the choice not to do them yourself, though of course you can make other choices no problem, and I 100% respect your decision no matter what. Number two, there are a few ways you can go about doing drugs. I went about it the okay way. You can go about it an even better way should you choose. So some of the stuff in here will be about like when to do versus do or not do. And the when can be answered better than worse. And number three is I fully accede to the reality that I paid and am paying at all times the costs of my prior relatively, I would say impressive steroid use. And you might have to pay similar costs, but you might have to pay zero costs, because anabolic androgenic steroids should usually be used only in specific cases. So let's go through 2 reasons to use steroids and find out if you're one of them. And if you're not, you probably shouldn't be using steroids. So reason number 1, you're interested in becoming an IFBB professional bodybuilder or a professional powerlifter, strongman, etc. You're already over 25 years old when the brain is mostly done maturing on the macro scale. Taking steroids before that's real dumb because it fucks up your brain. And you have been training hard for about 10 years total, so 10 years at minimum. People who get on steroids before about 10 years of training are just doing the same thing they could have done naturally, but with steroids, not a real good idea. Your natural gains have slowed down substantially by this point. You'd like to compete in a few years. That's part of turning pro, not drug-free, by the way. And you're ready to have a medical staff and coach monitor your health constantly. Basically like a walking experiment at that point, and you're ready to take loads of ancillary drugs like blood pressure meds and a host of others just to stay relatively healthy and upright. If you are in that demographic, then steroid use is a logical decision you may undertake in agreeing to. There's another reason why you could use steroids. You're in your 30s or later. You've been training drug-free for over a decade. At this point, by this point, because you've been training a long time and you're older, your gains have come to a very slow crawl. Even as you put more effort into the training and the eating and recovery, you're barely getting a couple pounds of muscle here and there every few years. But you really still care about progressing in your physique. Making your physique better is this huge passion in your life. And you have the willpower and commitment to be able to take only very small and very slowly escalating minimal doses over the next multiple years of using steroids. You are fully committed to the physique lifestyle, which means if someone's like, yeah, man, I've trained hard for 6 months, but then I kind of got out of it for 3, you're not a candidate for steroid use. Serious people only need to apply. And also like the IFBB pro or person who wants to be an IFBB pro, you're ready to have a medical staff on hand and a coach to monitor your health, and you're ready to take all the ancillary blood pressure stuff and all those other crazy pills. That's the thing, is as soon as you start taking steroids, you're never just taking steroids. You're almost always taking other stuff with it. So there's like an old Jeff Foxworthy, a comedian from back in the day kind of joke is, was it like marriage for the sex is like buying a 747 jumbo jet airplane for the peanuts? Taking steroids, a lot of other stuff comes along with that. You have to be ready to live that life. The big reason not to use steroids is that if you're not in either one of these 2 groups, then you probably shouldn't be taking steroids. In other words, if you're younger than your 30s, or if you haven't been training for 10 years hard sequentially yet, or especially if you are still making strong, steady, natural gains. If that's the case, what are you doing? You're just asking for side effects at that point. If you're in that criteria, then doing steroids is almost certainly not worth the downsides. And okay, fine. What downsides am I talking about? Oh boy. Health risks. Random cardiovascular disease death, like people who have used steroids are much more likely to just get a random stroke or aneurysm or heart attack for the rest of their lives, by the way. That's fun. Longevity costs. Steroids make your body process everything a bit faster, and you just run through, for lack of a better term, your life force. You just do more accumulated metabolic damage over time. And I do mean damage, not the dieting kind, but the being 78 years old and all your cells are kind of fucked up kind. Steroids age you faster, and so they do reduce your longevity 100%. There are cosmetic risks, and I mean risks and not costs because you might not get these, but you might get them. And if you get them severely, they're really annoying. Risks like hair loss. You don't see me trying to grow my hair out. Well, I do have a long family history of everyone's fucking losing their hair, but I will say you get more of the genes for hair stuff, if I'm not mistaken, from your mom's father, from your grandfather on your mom's side. That guy had a full head of hair till he died. Your boy did not. And certainly I started going receding hairline way before I used steroids. It shit sure did not help. Body hair growth, as you can see, I'm a walking advertisement for that. I mean body hair growth and like for males and females and all the places you don't really want to deal with hair. Gnarly acne. Some people get no hair loss, no body hair growth extra, and no gnarly acne. Some people get all three and everything in between. Those are cosmetic risks. They may or may not happen. There's also cosmetic costs. Like, for example, no matter what, if you use steroids, you're going to look older than significantly more than the amount of time that has elapsed. So your friends who are aging alongside with you, they'll still look much younger and you'll look much older if you've been on steroids. I get this shit all the time, but people are like, man, you're 40? I thought you were like 51. And I'm like, and in a sense, some of my body cells have aged to 51 and beyond from the massive amount of stress steroids put on them. That's definitely a thing. Another thing, coming off of drugs. You take the steroids, you're Superman, you're the man, you're getting your fucking blowjobs everywhere you go. And all of a sudden you have to come off of steroids or come down in dose. That is a bit of a headache of a process in many cases, unless you never come off and then you just die a lot faster for a lot longer. So if you're ever going to come off of steroids, one does not simply walk into Mordor. No, come off of steroids. Well, let's say both. Though, hey, Scott the Video Guy, you remember Lord of the Rings, right? Mm-hmm. Yo, if I had to do the fucking the Fellowship of the Ring trek to Mordor, I would be gassed up beyond belief,
you gotta
bro.
Be fighting orcs and shit, bro, to the gills.
To the gills. I'm either dying from orcs overwhelming me, or I'm dying of the massive cardiovascular explosion in my chest when I'm fucking throwing the ring away in the fucking mountain or whatever.
Yeah, did you see those orcs coming out of their sludge pools all jacked and shit? They're not natty for
the
sure.
Fuck? I'm on a level playing field, baby. I want fucking, you get to the Lord of the Rings universe, you're like, they're like, all right, you got to get to do the same thing Frodo did and get the ring. You're like, all right, blah, blah, blah. Where's your pharmacy? They're like, we don't have a pharmacy. You're like, oh my God, how do you guys get your tren? And they're like, what's tren? And you're like, oh my God, no wonder you have trouble with Mount Doom or whatever the fuck. Watch this. Your boy takes 80 fucking Halo pills, 5 cc's of tren, and you just like teleport will yourself to the fucking Eye of Sauron, punch a hole through it. And you're like, mission accomplished, fellas. And they're like, how do you feel about it? You're like, not so good, guys. I don't feel so good. That's an exact plot of Lord of the Rings revealed. That's actually what happened. So coming off sucks. Here's another thing. People think that steroids are going to get them lean, except the mechanisms that steroids exact in fat burning are actually quite small, and is a little bit of contention in the literature if they actually do happen at all or not. So steroids at best help you make you a little teeny, basically can't tell to the naked eye leaner, and arguably not at all. Most people think steroids make you shredded. And the reality is like, that's what dieting and cardio and growth hormone does, to be completely frank. Steroids themselves don't really get you shredded. So you'll have a lot of people who jump on steroids and are like, I'm going to be fucking lean and shredded. And then 6 months later, they're like, I'm stronger, I'm bigger, I have more veins, I guess, but I'm like bloated and I weigh 20 pounds more. I thought I was supposed to be like svelte. And like, nope, that's all diet and everything like that. Also, steroids increase your hunger so much that dieting becomes more difficult. The whole thing is fucking wacky. It works, but it's just a one does not simply kind of moment. There are other costs, psychological costs. You're not as fun in your own head to yourself. You're not as fun to the people around you. You have more anxiety, more anger. Steroids make you less pleasant to be around, including to yourself, than otherwise. And it's a thing that's real. It's a real thing. In addition, there are intellectual costs. You almost certainly won't be as smart while on lots of steroids than off of them. There's some decent literature to potentially suggest that you're actually never going to be as smart as you used to be again. Or to put it better, you take a permanent, small, but real IQ reduction after years of steroid use. And well, that kind of sucks. That's sort of, I was proud of being pretty smart. And now I don't even know which way's which. To be honest, I never really figured out a whole lot about life, but I'm trying my best. You don't want to dunk your IQ for no reason at all. Bad idea. And to put a fine point on it, the effect on the social sphere, like attracting girls, is fucking underwhelming. I'll be the first person to tell you that if you've never heard it before. They don't just run to you when you're on steroids and super jacked and shredded. They're kind of like a little bit more afraid of you. And if you have solid game, you can convert. If you don't have solid game, you ain't going to do shit about it. You might get less interaction than more. And to be honest, like rockers and hipsters got all the girls anyway. So I don't even know what's out there. What does they say? Plenty of fish in the sea. Not when you're in Brooklyn and you're not a hipster. Then you might as well not exist. Scott, you a Brooklyn fan?
Hell no.
Do you like the typical Brooklyn girl?
Yeah, but I stayed in the city. I was a real New Yorker.
Hey.
I didn't go over to that Brooklyn trash.
Manhattan.
Stay on the island. Come on.
Wow. Calling yourself a real New Yorker and claiming Manhattan is like the ultimate not real New Yorker thing to do. What a travesty. You want to train right to gain muscle, but there's so much complexity to it. What exercises to choose, what sets and reps to do, how much weight to lift, and how to structure your weekly plan. So much uncertainty that it's easy to get overwhelmed. The RP Hypertrophy app removes all uncertainty and makes the training process precisely defined. Choose your pre-made workout plan from dozens available in the app, plug in your weights, and the app takes care of the rest for months of productive training. Ready? Click on the link in the description of this video to get started. So, to sum up, almost all people who train, people like you, will fall into the last case of does not qualify for steroids and not the first two cases of either I'm getting older, but I really want to prioritize my physique and I've put in years of work and I'm meticulous, or I'm trying to turn pro in a fucking real sport that requires steroids. Thus, almost all people should reconsider drug use if they've been interested, because it's probably not the thing for you. Especially if your natty gains are still coming, your cost ratio, your cost to benefit ratio rather for steroid use, it just really tilted in the direction of costs. And the benefits is like more of the same of what you've already been getting, but with almost no downsides. Now you pay huge downsides for a little bit more. Even if it's a lot more, there's some serious downsides. Now, if you're not making gains at all, and you've been training for a long time, it's understandable. You want to make gains again. But if you're making great gains, hopping on steroids, it's just a confusing thing to do. I'll put it to you this way. Let me make it a quick analogy. So you have a really, really well-functioning normal car at home. It's not new. It's 5 years old. You have a warranty on it. The mechanic says it's golden. It's good to run. You love it. And you're like, you know what? I'm gonna get rid of this car and I'm gonna buy like a super exotic, ultra expensive sports car. And people are like, why? And you're like, I don't know. I'm not sure. I think it'd be cool. Okay. Do you like to take care of a sports car? You're like, no, I don't take care of my car. Just bring it to the mechanic. Because when you have a sports car, you have to really care for it. Are you going to drive it really fast often? You're like, no. Okay. Do you go out a lot? Do you want to park it in front of clubs, valet service and impress the bitches? No, I don't really do that. Okay. Why do you want a sports car if you have a perfectly normal functioning car at home? Well, okay, what about when that car breaks down? Okay, then maybe get a sports car. When you're age 39 and you've lifted for 18 years and you barely make muscle gains anymore, okay, there's an argument there. But if you're 26 and you're putting on 5 to 10 pounds of muscle every year, it's exactly what is the point of going to the sports car route and getting the steroids and being there's a lot of shit that came in with this that I wasn't anticipating. Now, maybe someday soon, will have super cool drugs that only help with muscle growth and have almost no side effects, kind of like modern obesity drugs like Ozempic and tirzepatide are doing today with obesity. We might have that for muscularity in the future. That would be awesome. But until then, steroids are just a very big hammer for a very small nail for most people. What you want is a little bit more muscle growth and to be chiseled. You hit that hammer with, hit that nail with a giant hammer of steroids, you get acne, your relationships degrade, your health degrades, you're pissed all the time, the gains are sweet, but you're still kind of fat. You're like, oh, Jesus Christ, this is reality? Yes, for many people, this is reality. And by the way, you see all these amazing steroid transformation stories on TikTok and shit. Folks only post their best stories almost as a rule. So to people who didn't have an amazing steroid transformation story, I got two things for you. One, they're probably not going to post. And two, even if they posted, you wouldn't notice it because it would never go viral because it doesn't look impressive. So when you think, yeah, but that one fucking 17-year-old on trend, he got shredded in like 2 weeks or whatever. Yeah. And there's only one of that guy. And there's 100 other guys that tried that and they just like had terrible acne and got. Also, this is the thing called the trend flu. Your body like rejects the steroid because it's so artificial. And you get like night sweats and shivering and weakness and all. It's real fun, right? Yeah, nobody's posting about that because people don't typically post about shit like that. So steroids are a huge hammer. The nail of a little bit more muscle growth in my circumstance is quite small. And remember, steroids aren't these super modern advanced drugs. Most of them were invented up to and around the 1960s. I mean, like, what do you currently use today that was invented and unaltered since the 1960s? Scott, can you think of anything you have in this office that's been unaltered largely since 1960? The table, maybe? Yeah, that's what steroids are like, a table. They're not like an iPhone, like, oh, like this is going to be like so slick and nuanced and give me all these great things. Like, nah, boom, here's this big ass table. Like, but my foot was resting there. Like, sorry, table goes on the foot. Doesn't fucking matter. It's a real brutal instrument. So unless you'd like to be a bald, shriveled, strange old man like me, anabolic steroids are probably something you'd want to stay away from. So keep putting in that natty work, have excellent and improving physique, better all the time. You can always choose to hop on steroids later if you really meet the criteria, but don't rush it. And the reality is you probably don't need to be on steroids. Folks, this has been me putting mine on my adult male role model hat. The hats don't really fit my head because it's grotesquely large. Also because of steroids. In any case, hopefully you guys like the video. Like, subscribe to YouTube things, the Twitch stream, TikTok. And am I saying the social media things you want to hear yet? Anyway, peace, homies.